But it is so important that we really understand that not only is love everything, we are love. And we can intellectually know the truth and not embody it because of the slings and the arrows of our lives, of all the pain and the words that we have internalized and believe that we are not a beautiful expression of divine love. You know, we've been on this journey for Advent, and it is all about love. And at the same time, it's not. I'm going to start with faith. The first candle we lit 2-3 weeks ago now was the candle for faith. And I talked to you about faith doesn't just mean a belief in a dogma, a faith tradition, a teachings that come from a specific person. And we know this is true intellectually, but do we really understand that faith is what we believe, is what we bring to the equation of life, to the journey of compassion and love in the world? Because Jesus was Jewish. He was not Christian. He didn't even start out to say, I'm here to create a new religion in the world, right? Buddha was not Buddhist. He was just seeking enlightenment and truth. Muhammad did not start Islam. What he did was start a teaching. What they all did was teach love. If we look at what Jesus did, and according to the scriptures, when he asked, what is the greatest commandment? He says, love thy neighbor as thyself, and love God with your whole heart and your whole mind. Those are the greatest commandments of this master teacher and way shower, Jesus. No, other traditions, other faiths follow the man Jesus, the Christ consciousness, the Christ, as they call it, Jesus Christ. But what we do is see Jesus and understand Jesus to be the great example, not the great exception. That each and every one of us, as it says in the Gospel of John, can do these same things that Jesus did and more when we come from love. And we light the second candle for when we come from peace. The peace that passes all understanding. The peace that does not seek retribution. The peace that does not seem to be only right. And the peace that does not only protect our own loved ones, but everyone on the planet and the planet itself. That's love. Just protecting the ones who love you is easy, folks. It's to love the ones who hate you and revile you and say all manner of evil against you falsely. When you can love them, then we're talking. Then we're talking about what it means to practice love. To practice love that is transformative. To practice love that is larger than ourselves. This is the teachings of every major religion. But we get lost in the minutia of, oh, well, I'm going to love them because they're unity folks. Or I'm going to love them because they're this or they're that. Or those are my peeps, right? But love is indiscriminate when it's really love. If it's a quid pro quo, if it is only reserved for a select few, it's not love, it's favor. It's prejudice, it's bias. Love is indiscriminate, and love can never, ever be depleted. But we learn about love from our primary caregivers and from the being in the world. But Lao-Tzu, before Jesus, again, before Jesus walked the earth, there were other spiritual teachers, believe it or not. And one of them in the Chinese tradition is Lao-Tzu. And is being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone gives you courage. Loving someone gives you the courage to take risks, to face untold burdens. And we learn how to love from our parents. Now, many of you see me as and experiencing me as this wonderful, loving, outrageous, fun-filled person, right? But as a kid, it wasn't like that for me. So I wanted to tell you that it is true that you can experience the pain of growing up in the world and not be loved and still learn how to do it. And I'm learning how to do it every day. But if I went to school dressed like I am today, which sometimes I did, I was beaten up for it. I was ridiculed by the teachers. I was beaten up on the way home by my fellow classmates. And then when I got home, my father beat me, trying to make a man out of me. That's what he would say. I'm going to make a man out of you, Ken. I'm going to make a man out of you. That was incredibly hard to take in. There seemed to be no place to be myself and to be safe. But I persevered, and I found the love of certain teachers and grandparents and friends who loved me exactly the way I was and exactly the way I am. Years later, I sat with my mom one day, and she cried and cried as she told me she was so sorry for everything they had done because they just didn't know what to do with me. And obviously, it's put me in front of a room full of people and put me in colorful clothes. So, but she cried and she asked for my forgiveness. And I told her, Mom, I know you were doing the best you could. I get it. It wasn't taught to you either. And my father and I, my mom doesn't remember the conversation. She's in the advanced stages of Alzheimer's. But I am so at peace with Mom and know that there is so much love there. My father and I got to have a knockout, drag-out fight about it one day where we were still screaming at each other, and he was screaming at me that I never hurt you. And I remember visibly and dramatically taking my finger and poking it into his chest and saying, yes, you did. You hurt me. And that was so cathartic. We cried together. We got to understand each other on a deeper level. And I got to be the adult who could stand up and say, this is me, all of me. I'm magnificent. I am worthy of love. And got to tell him to his face what a privilege that is, to get to tell him that I love him and that what he did hurt me. The two things can exist together. And whether your parents are still here on the planet, or whether your primary caregiver or someone who injured you or abused you and hurt you is no longer here to have those conversations, you can still have them. Because love transcends time and space. Love transcends it all. And when you can have that kind of conversation with yourself and understand that you are worthy of love, it shifts everything. Because it is most important that we understand there are no limitations. There are no limitations in time, in spirit. Helen Keller told us this: what we have once enjoyed, we can never lose. And all that we love deeply becomes part of us. Oh, wow. Grief is a part of love. Do you get it? True sorrow, losing someone, losing our lives, losing ones we care for. When we cry and grieve and mourn them, that is part of love. If you didn't love them, it wouldn't hurt that they leave, right? So why do we fight so hard against the inevitable? Every single one of us is going to leave this planet, this body, and enter back into the oneness with spirit. When we leave these bodies, as all of our ancestors have done before us, from all accounts, that as Reverend Elizabeth shared with us a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago now, is that every account we have of people who have those kind of experiences, that it's bliss, it's heaven. It is truly transformative in that we lose the limitations of this earthly body. And, you know, I love this body. It does a lot of fun things, right? I won't enumerate them all here. Right? They taught me that in ministerial school too. And at the same time, our physical bodies cause us physical pain and emotional pain. We feel the emotional pain of love. And love is like two sides of the hand, right? It has a front and a back. And how do you grasp with the back of the hand? You can't. So we remain open to love. We remain open to everything that becomes deeply a part of us. We sit in this building, which is 114 years old. Unity of San Francisco is 104 years old. And the Unity movement is 130 years, 4 years old. Right? 134 years old, the Unity movement is. So this ancestors have all passed their love. And we sit in this understanding, in this faith. The people, the avatars, the teachers, the spiritual leaders who've come before us are all with us in love. And then this quote from Euripides, okay? Euripides lived 430 BCE. 400 years before Jesus walked the earth, before many of our spiritual masters walked the earth. Euripides says, love is all we have. The only way that we help each other is with love. So when we heal our personal understanding of love, when we heal the times we have been hurt and restricted and closed our heart, we then get to open up to the global understanding of love. That love is the very heartbeat of this planet, of the whole universe. And love is the invisible power that holds us all together. So how and why would we treat anyone with anything less than love? There's another quote. Oh, let's see if I can remember. I was looking at, Mother Teresa said that no one should leave your presence. Everyone should leave your presence. I'll rephrase it. Everyone should leave your presence happier than when they came. Whew, right? Happier than when they came. So every interaction is in a possibility, a invitation for love. Globally, we have an invitation for love. How do we love the planet? How do we take care of it? How do we make a difference in this world? How do we make sure that there's enough rainforest? We know there's more than enough resources. Do we really know that? Right? We live in an infinite universe. Scientists have proven that there's more than enough food on the planet. We have more than enough capacity to make food to feed everyone on the planet. We know the solution to global warming. Are we going to do it? Are we going to love the planet and ourselves and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren and future generations enough to do it? What about racial justice in this country? Are we going to love the people we have long marginalized and ignored enough to create an atmosphere of social justice, of criminal justice, of economic justice, of personal justice, so that people aren't stopped for driving the car while the wrong color, so that people aren't wrongly imprisoned, murdered, incarcerated because of the color of their skin, that people aren't excluded from this glorious club we call the United States of America because of where they were born. Can we extend enough love to know that when we open our arms and give freely, there is more than enough for us. But we operate on fear. We can't let people into the country because we won't have enough. We can't give other people who are the different color the same rights that we have because it'll take away our opportunity and rights. And that, folks, is fear. The universe is constantly providing everything we need. Everything we need. We look at the modern women's rights movement, which started some 150 years ago and took forever for women to get the equal right to vote, right? The equal right to vote, that women were considered property, not full human beings with an intelligence and a self-will and a self-possession. Folks, that's what we believed 150 years ago. We were wrong. Right? How many other things that we believe today are we wrong about? When we can know that if we open ourselves to love, we open ourselves to understanding, open ourselves to saying, I don't have all the answers, but I know the answers exist between us all. And that people from different walks of life, from different backgrounds, from different ways of expressing themselves and their love, also contain wisdom we need. When we can do that, we can open ourselves to a world that works for everyone. No exceptions, no exclusions. We can open ourselves to true abundance and prosperity because we're no longer hoarding. We're no longer trying to get it all for ourselves and making sure that we have enough and then maybe we'll give a little out to everybody else. When we can open ourselves to the infinite channels of good, they will pour into our lives, pour through our lives, and we are just the stewards of passing it on. That's love. Love when we don't limit it. Love when we open the channel so that we can create a world that works. A world that works for ourselves and for our neighbors, when we can love our neighbors as ourselves. Love is the answer. Love is the key. Misa saying it, you are enormous, you are infinite, you are potential. And we have barely scratched the surface of all we can do and be. And if that scares you, good. If we're not living a life a little nervous, you know how nervous I am telling this to you right now and getting your blank stares back at me? It's okay, because what I'm saying is confronting. We've been living too small. We have been living way too small. Just trying to get what's ours, trying to take care of ourselves, our own families, our own well-being. The power of one, we sang at the beginning. Each and every one of us are necessary to step up and deliver this. Each and every one of us have to be the force of love on the planet so that we can create that new heaven and that new earth. I told you last week, the story of Adam and Eve in Genesis 2 is one of the oldest stories we have written in the Bible. It was written in the year 900 BCE, so even before Euripides, that story was written. And what it says is that Adam and Eve were forbidden to eat from the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. It was an apple that was forbidden. It was that they weren't supposed to eat and take in, ingest, and become aware of something is good and something is bad. That polarized place, that this is good and this is evil. And they went from understanding that everything was for them to things were evil. And they felt pain and they were kicked out of the garden and they knew suffering and labor because they were naming it good or bad. When we can get back to Eden, when we can understand that change, however painful, the loss of loved ones, change, the loss of a culture, change that a gay man can be your minister and inspire both straight and gay people and trans people, and it's all the same. Right, folks? I'm not a minister because I'm gay. I'm not a minister because I'm gay. I'm here because I'm on the spiritual journey we're all on, understanding that it is more than this body, more than each individual, more than anything. We are here as expressions of love. And when we can love, when we can step up and see it's all for us, the world shifts. Our heart cracks open. And we're humbled. How can I serve? How can I serve this unfolding good on the planet? Let's take that to our time of meditation.